My name is Sidney B. Kahkwa. I am lead transportation planner for Trans-Systems in Pittsburgh. And I want to welcome all of you to this meeting, to our second Kahkwa Bridge Replacement Project meeting tonight. I know you have taken away from your evenings in Erie, wherever you were going to be doing this evening, and you're here. So we appreciate that. Thank you for coming. Before we proceed with the meeting, a few protocols. Let me first introduce some very important people in our midst tonight. I'll start with the city of Erie. We have here your mayor, Mayor David Schomba. Let me get my glasses. What did I call you? I had my eyes operated on last week, so please forgive me. Mayor Joseph Schomba is here with us tonight. When I call your name, for the rest of the folks, please either stand up or raise your right hand. We have Renee Lamy, City of Pittsburgh, City of Erie, Chief of Staff. Thank you, Mary. We have Chuck Zisk, Erie Director of Public Works. We have Rob Lee, Director of Communications. Jason Sayers, City Engineer. Leanne Parmenter, Assistant to the City Engineer. Monica Gossins, Digital Media Specialist. Martin Lamar, Erie Port Authority Executive Director. He's back there. Julie Slumsky, Erie Port Authority Deputy Executive Director. David Ulig, did I say that correctly? Yeah. Erie Port Authority Board Facilities and Planning Chair. And Ashley Porter, Consulting Engineer for the Port Authority, for the Erie Port Authority. Those are the good folks from the city of Erie this evening. And before we go any further, I also want you to meet the staff from Trans-Systems in Pittsburgh. Again, as I said, my name is Sidney. We have here with us tonight, we have Brian Krul. He's going to be the presenter this evening. Brian is the project manager for this project. And then we have Joseph, help me out, Joe. There you go, Rosevich, in the back by the door. He's our highway lead engineer. And then we have, Jeffrey Holmes. He's our bridge lead engineer. Again, thank you folks for coming. We really appreciate your presence being here tonight. A few protocols we want to go over tonight. Brian is going to make his presentation. It's not going to be long, about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. As you know, we met with you back in February, I believe, presented you with options, alternatives, and so forth. We did some surveys, and he's going to go through all that. So we have today for you to present you with the final chosen design. You had an input in that, by the way. And so Brian will make his presentation, and then during his presentation, if you have any questions or comments, please jot that down or keep it in your memory. At the end of the presentation, then we'll entertain questions. We're going to have you line up to my left-hand side of the hall, and then when I acknowledge you, you come to the podium, you say, give us your comment, questions, or doubts, or whatever you want to talk about tonight about this bridge. But it's only the bridge that you're going to talk about, not anything else. Not anything else. So please bear with us. I guarantee you it's going to be a good meeting. I think all of you folks are good people. You want your bridge to be built. So let us all join together and listen to the presentations and have this meeting be a successful one this evening. Do we agree? Yes. Thank you very much. Brian?
Thank you, Sidney. Again, my name is Brian Kroll with Trans-Systems. Good to see everybody here. A lot of familiar faces. We had our first public meeting back in February, so I do see a lot of familiar faces, and I thank you all for coming. So without further ado, as Sydney said, we're here for the Kahkwa Bridge project tonight. Project team, we went through this back in February, and Sydney did a good job of introducing not only the City of Erie, Erie Western PA Port. Some other partners we have is the Erie MPO and PennDOT District 11. There's some project partners with us. Actually, Emily's here from MPO. Trans Systems, we're the prime consultant, and we have two sub-consultants on board with us. A&A Consultants, they're doing our geotechnical work, our geotechnical investigations, foundations. And then we have Mauna Loa Basin Engineers. They did a lot of our survey work, and they checked some of the property lines and right-of-way. So that's our project team. I don't think I need to spend much time on location map. We all know where the Kahkwa Bridge is, but just put those in there for maybe anybody else visiting or not knowing the specific area we're talking about. So some Kahkwa facts and history. I went through these. These are interesting, and I'm going to go to the survey from the first public meeting after this last bullet, but I thought it's interesting to keep this slide for those of you who weren't at the first public meeting. The bridge was built back in 1920 for automobile pedestrian traffic over Kahkwa Boulevard, over Ravine Drive. And Ravine Drive, it serves as the only route to the Ferncliff residence. Any Ferncliff residents here? Okay. We're still going to get you home, Ferncliff residents. Don't worry. An Erie Yacht Club, okay? Anybody from the Erie Yacht Club here? Okay. So the former bridge, you could read there, 57-foot arch barrel length of the former bridge. And then in October 2021, it was demolished by the city. It had some structural deficiencies, and for safety purposes, the bridge was demolished. So then a neighborhood survey was performed, and the majority of the residents requested a replacement, a vehicular bridge, and with that, enhanced sidewalks for pedestrians. You could see some of the other statistics. 38% requested ped only, and 7% requested no bridge. So we presented those results, and we came to you back in February 23rd, several months ago, and we presented three alternatives to you. And during that presentation, we also provided a comment form, a survey for you to take home, fill out while you're here. I think we even posted it on the city site, and we got a lot of responses, and I wanted to read those results to you. I have glasses as well, Sydney. I'm not getting any younger. So out of that, 54% selected alternative one. That's the multi-girder option. That's what we're here actually to present tonight. So, not hiding anything. We're here to present alternative one, 54%. 4% selected alternative number two. That was the conspan arch. That was similar to what was there. That was 4%. 28% selected alternative three. Now, alternative three was very similar to alternative one, with the difference of an arch liner. That also happened to be the most expensive option. 28%. 12% selected the pedestrian-only bridge, and then 2% said no bridge or other. So based on those results and talking with the public, gathering your feedback, we're here to present tonight alternative number one as we move forward through the design process. So we're going to talk about some details of alternative one. We're going to talk about some cost. We're going to talk about schedule as well, so hopefully I can answer most of your questions here throughout this presentation. Okay. So we're at about the 70% design, give or take. These are just some scope tasks that we have remaining. We did do a PA1 call, but we've learned through many projects that it's a good idea to update these every 3 to 6 months with utilities. So We will be doing that. We know there's an existing storm sewer on Ravine. And then there's been some extensive coordination with both the Erie Yacht Club and the water company on a proposed water line. So we're continuously coordinating with these folks so they can install their water line. Public meeting feedback. That's why we're here tonight. We're here tonight to get feedback from everybody. And after this meeting, Sydney will make an announcement, but there will be a comment form on the city website. General comment form for you to give us your thoughts and comments on tonight and on the preferred alternative, the preferred bridge that we're going to talk about. So you'll get an opportunity there. What else do we have remaining are roadway plans. We're looking in the next couple months to get to that 100% plan specifications and estimate. And then right now we're coordinating with our sub-consultant, A&A consultants, on some of the slope stability, some of the rock that's going to be required. They did some drilling. They got some core borings digging into the ground to see what kind of soils there, what kind of foundation we'll need, how the existing soils are. And we're going to need some slope treatments, especially on Ravine. We're going to need some rock placement. So we're coordinating with them right now as far as how much and the different areas and volumes. And then 100% E&S plan and 100% traffic control plan. I will talk to you shortly here on the traffic control plan. Here's our proposed Ravine Drive alignment. And I'm going to get the pointer out for this. So you can see in the yellow is proposed. So this gray is existing, okay? That's the existing Ravine Drive. If you were with us back in February, you would have noticed that the curve was a little flatter, right? The curve was up here a little bit more. And since then, we've taken it back to match existing a little bit closer. And why we did that, one reason was because of the survey we received from everybody. One of the other comments was there was a concern about impact to trees and vegetation and landscaping. And with that flatter alignment, we impacted a lot more trees. Plus the cost as well of going offline. So looking at that, we decided it was probably more feasible to kind of revise that alignment to match closer to the existing. So that's what you see here in this presentation. And in the bottom right corner, you'll see the typical section, okay, for Ravine. This is, again, proposed typical section, 2 11-foot lanes, and then the shoulders are variable. There's really no consistent shoulder out there today, so we're trying to match the shoulder best we can while giving a little bit of a shoulder as well. That extra shoulder can be used for peds and bikes as needed. There will be some drainage added as well, some inlets, and we'll go through some of the renderings here in just a moment. So this is alternative number one. This is the Kahkwa Bridge, the preferred alternative, I should say. It is a single-span concrete bulb T bridge. Okay, and this slide kind of gives you some of the costs of the bridge. And there's a range in there. The bridge cost is about 1.5 to 1.7. Okay, so that's a range because we're not at 90 or 100% yet. We're still coordinating with our geotech subs. We've got most of it nailed down, but there's a little bit of a contingency in there just for some other items. We have to go through a PennDOT review as well, see what kind of comments we get. So that's why there's that range. Kahkwa Boulevard, Ravine Drive, that cost is about $550 to $750. And again, that's a range also because of some of the slope recommendations. That's the rock, that's the benching that's going to be needed on those hillsides. So that's what we're looking at for our approximate costs for this project. And then below you'll see a typical section, right? That's just a slice through the bridge. Looking at the bridge, you see we keep 2 12-foot lanes. There's going to be 2-foot shoulders. That's for drainage reasons. And then a 5-foot sidewalk. There'll be a 5-foot sidewalk on each side. And then beyond that sidewalk, you're going to see what they call a PA Type 10M barrier. That's for safety reasons, so vehicles don't go off the bridge. About a 42-foot overall width there. So this is a rendering, and you'll see this one around the room as well. Please, afterwards, if you haven't, come up. You can take a closer look at those. This is the preferred alternative looking west on Kahkwa. And as you see the sidewalk, you see the pedestrians in the sidewalk. There's a curb there, again, 5-foot sidewalk. That's a better look at the bridge barrier. And then you'll see guide rail that's connected to that bridge barrier. Again, that's for safety, so vehicles don't run into that blunt end of the side of the bridge. So there's guide rail that's going to wrap around. We are showing detectable ramps, ADA ramps there. Not the exact location, but this is just a rendering to show you that those are some of the items that will be included. Shared lane markings for the bicycles. And so that's going to be our bridge. That's looking from the top view, looking west on Kahkwa Boulevard. I'll keep that up for just another moment while you're looking at some of those. There will be some minor intersection improvements to tie the bridge in on both ends. Again, just minor, just what we need to do to tie in the approach slabs and intersections. Now this is going down on Ravine Drive looking north. And this is going to be pretty similar to when we were here back in February looking at Alternative 1. So there's not much that has changed here. You know, the typical section we talked about, the 11-foot lanes, variable shoulders. It looks a little more consistent there in this picture, but you see some inlets there for drainage purposes. In one area I will point out, so some of the rock, you could see the abutment, some of the rock here that'll be keyed in under the bridge. There will be a little bit more rock due to the slope stability and some of the rock we need to add. However, we're able to bury this rock under some topsoil and vegetation, so it won't be present. When you're driving, you're not going to see a bunch of rock. You'll just see the rock present directly under the bridge, like you would see on a lot of highways or interstates. But some of that other rock that we're coordinating with our geotechnical sub and the recommendations, we're going to bury that, again, with some topsoil and vegetation. And then you see the Type 10M barrier above that we saw on Kahkwa. Okay, now I just want to take a few minutes to talk about the traffic control, because we know Ferncliff residents, we know the yacht club, that's a major issue during construction. How are we going to get people to the yacht club or to their home? And so when I showed that Ravine Drive alignment, it kind of helped that we're close to existing, but not exactly on existing, because what we're going to do is build one side at a time. So there will be access at all times. And you see there's going to be two stages. So as we build the one side, vehicles will be able to use the one lane that's existing today. Okay? Then they'll switch over and they'll use the built lane while we're building the other existing lane. And this will be done by a traffic signal, temporary traffic signals, more than likely solar battery operated. There'll be one on each side. And we point them out here, the traffic signals. We did look at stop control, but because of sight distance reasons, we had to go with the traffic signals. So again, this is stage one, okay? So vehicles will be able to use this lane here, close to existing, while we're building half of Ravine Drive. Here's one of the temporary signals, and here's the proper tapers that you're going to need. Stop bars are up here, so the vehicles will wait back here. wait for this traffic to pass. When the light turns, then they'll be able to go. And vice versa. So that'll be a continuous flow. We anticipate there'll be a little bit of delay, but nothing major, right? 30 seconds, minute, 2 minutes while you're waiting at the signal. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to build, there's going to be a lane open for traffic control. Now, when they do deliver the beams, since there's going to be 4 beams, because the delivery of the beams should take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. So whatever that day may be, everyone will be notified well far in advance. There will be some stoppages of traffic for that time period to set the beams in place. The beams will be delivered, dropped off probably somewhere on Crescent, where there'll be a crane on either side that'll pick up the beam, set it down, and again, each beam will be 15 to 30 minutes. Once one beam's down, we can let traffic through, and then once the crane begins operation again, we'll have to shut it down for, again, 15 to 30 minutes. But that's all in a day's work. So that would be probably the most disruptive day. Again, we'll coordinate with the contractor to make sure you're well aware and make sure there's a lot of communication so you're aware well ahead of time for that day. But that's what we're looking like for traffic control. One thing I before I talk about the schedule, I did want to mention is we tried to minimize as many tree impacts as we could. But with the crane, with setting some beams, with some of the rock, there will be roughly about 6 trees that may be impacted, just so you're aware. But part of us revising Ravine was to minimize that number, so that number was a lot higher before we tucked Ravine in. So we're doing our best, and that's not definite. We're still going to try to save as many as we can, but just want to let everybody know there may be up to about 6 trees that may be impacted as part of the whole construction operations of the project. So we're here tonight, right? Public meeting number 2. So this is just what we have left and what our anticipated schedule looks like at this point. Again, we're looking at the final bid package here early in 2024, and then bidding. That's when we advertise, we open up bids from a contractor. That'll be in the spring, and so construction can start right after that. And I do have a note on here, pending funding availability, just to make sure that the funding is all in place. Then construction can start. And then the construction duration, I have 3 to 5 months listed. It gives us a little bit of room, maybe if it lags a couple months one way or another. But there's no reason that with this schedule that the project cannot be completed within 2024. Next year at this time, project completion. So you'd have a new bridge, hopefully within a year. That's what the schedule looks like. Again, we're still, closely coordinating with the city and with other stakeholders to make this happen. But that's it. A presentation was short and sweet. I hope it was informative. I'm glad you came out, and we wanted to show that we did listen to you from the first meeting, and we carried that through to this meeting. At this point, I guess, Sydney, we can welcome any comments that you have, as Sydney mentioned. Again, we do have a sign-in sheet. Please sign in so you can at least get on our list, our email list, if needed. And again, there will be a comment form on the city website, and we could email that out as well, as long as we have your emails. So then you can get back to us with any comments you may have on the project itself. So thank you. Let me take my notes here. Okay.
Thank you, Brian. If you have any questions at this time, yes, ma'am. Would you like to come to the podium, please?
Yes. We're going to line them up here, right? And
line up to the podium, if you may. Those that have questions, if you can, please line up to the left of the podium. And questions, comments are going to be limited to 2 minutes. We'll let you know as that 2-minute line approaches if you're exceeding the line. Those folks back there are keeping time.
Make sure they get their name.
Yes. Yeah, we would like your name and maybe your neighborhood where you live. Your neighborhood. That'll be great. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if you could pull up that illustration there and show me where this crane is going to be operating on Crescent Drive, and give me an idea then of the trees that are going to come down. And I'm on Lincoln Avenue. My name is Ruth Swanee.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Jay Shimmick, and I'm on Lincoln Avenue also. I'm one of the 54% that preferred this, so I thank you for that. Also, I thank you for putting a little bit of the curve back in to save the trees. I was kind of distressed that you're going to be chopping out a lot of that west bank, and so this is much better. I know this is not a trans systems issue, but for the city folks, I hope as this project is completed next year that you will consider the stop sign at 6th and Maryland. I know that's really helpful for the folks in the neighborhood, especially the St. Joseph's Apartments residents, for getting across 6th Street. But one of the biggest concerns I have, you talked about the stoplight, and it's not going to be so much a problem for Yacht Club members or Ferncliff people, but the Yacht Club has a lot of events, and there's going to be a lot of people who have never been on Ravine Drive, and it's going to be at night with these lights. So I think you really need to take into consideration if it's just going to be timed or if it's going to be a sensor, because people are going to be down there drinking and they're not going to want to wait. And so a sensor might be helpful, plus a lot of signage, especially on the way down, but even on the way back, because as I say, a lot of folks might be down there drinking, and it's going to be 3 to 5 months. So I hope you'll take that into consideration.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions? I know you have more questions than these, right? You want to line up here if you have questions, please?
Hi, I'm Lisa Renz. I live on Plymouth, right at Crescent. My question is on the funding. Now, who is funding it? How is this happening? And is it in the budget plan now? I'm looking at you, Mayor Schember.
Yes, the money is there, and it's not tax money that we grant from the state.
Okay. And I'm also very interested to find out where that crane's going, because I'm like right at the top of Crescent and Plymouth and so okay.
Okay, thank you. Hello. Any more questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
I live in one of the 4 houses closest to the bridge. One of the best things in recent months is that there haven't been cars going over that bridge at 65 miles an hour. My kids are playing, and I'd like to see a speed limit sign on the bridge, or right before you access the bridge.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Sure, the city folks are listening to you.
What side did you live on? That's Crescent, okay.
So my name is David Grab, and I live on Kahkwa Boulevard. In conjunction with Jay's question about the stoplight situation, with the number of events that we have going on down there, there are also sailing events where on Sundays and Wednesday nights, you're going to have a couple hundred cars coming down there. And how are you going to regulate the influx of people wanting to get down to go for the race, and then after the races are done, going back up? I can see parties that are down there, the flex will be intermittent. But on these events, I can tell you, everybody's trying to get down to the yacht club, so for a 6:30 start on their boats, and we might have 50 boats, and you got, how many people on a boat, Pete? Six to eight? And so that's going to be a concern, I think, to manage the traffic flow on a basis. So Jay had alleviated to the fact, is it's going to be a time thing? Or is it going to be, 2 minutes here and then 2 minutes there, back and forth? I guess if you could kind of address that a little further, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. I think you're, I guess, essentially talking about a traffic management plan during events. And I'm sure if we can work with the city to come up with some management plans during those events. Yes, sir. Right.
My name is Brian Fulham. I'm on Lincoln Avenue also. Is there any way that that system can be set up with sensors that if there's no traffic on the other side, that it'll just let the traffic flow down? And if there's no traffic on the opposite side when they're leaving, that it could just flow or something like that?
Those are traffic actuating lights.
So as soon if a car doesn't pull up on the downside and somebody's coming up, then it should stay green.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you. We're here for a while, so we can accept many, many more questions. All right. I can go line by line if you want me to.
My name is Harvey Downey. I'm the current Commodore at the Erie Yacht Club. And the Erie Yacht Club has 1,500 members. And it seems unfortunate that the timing of when the construction has to happen is during our high season. Can there be any consideration that the construction is done in the off-season because of the amount of traffic?
If there are no more questions, we will start answering some of these questions now. And again, let me reiterate that if you have more comments, a comment form will be posted online on the city's website, so you can go on that site and put your comments. We will respond accordingly. Brown, you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, thanks. Again, we'll stick around if there are some more questions. My team's here, and feel free to chime in. There were a couple questions on the traffic lights. So yeah, there's timed and actuated, right? Time is 1 minute, then 1 minute, right? Then there's actuated, and those can be set by radar video detection, right? So if you don't see if the radar doesn't, it doesn't pick up anything, or the video doesn't see anything, then it's going to stay, a certain color, right? It'll stay green. So that could be a possibility that we'll look into. We'll coordinate with the city on that. I think that would help some of the traffic flow, because obviously if everybody's leaving the yacht club and there's nobody coming down, there's no need for that signal to be green. So it would stay green down below for quite some time until a vehicle wants to come down. Then that vehicle would trip the actuated timing, so to speak, and then that signal would then turn green, and the other vehicles would have to wait. Once that vehicle clears, it'll reset, so it'll be a very short period. But yeah, that's something that can be done with traffic signals. So that's something I have on the list that we will investigate. As far as, let's see, traffic lights here, actuated. Yeah, I mean, part of this is building it in 2 stages is to get it done in 1 season. There could be a lot of other ways to do this, but it could impact time and money. It could take several seasons, and we could have very limited disruptions, or we can get this thing done with the cheapest way possible. There will be some disruptions. And we would ask all our friends at the yacht club to help us with this and maybe promote the construction schedule and when this is going on, and have the members practice some patience, because we are going to, it is going to require a little bit of patience. But then again, hey, after one construction season, we're done. We got a brand new, we got a drainage system, water line, you got a nice new road, a bridge. So hopefully that's worth some minor pains for one construction season. And then the timing, just because of the winters in Erie and getting your asphalt and concrete, it's going to be tough to do it off season in the winter months because of, quite frankly, because of just the weather itself. So we got to utilize some of the better weather, and unfortunately that's, April through October, and I know that's when a lot of the yacht club events are. So, but unfortunately, PennDOT does have shutdowns. I think, I'm not sure the exact date up in Erie. I know probably November 15th, give or take, sometime there. But no, great questions there. The lights, definitely something that can be done. Signage, I also made a note of. We'll take a look at some signage to just make sure we make those folks aware that, and we will have the proper signing in place. Temporary signal ahead. There'll be a couple signs there. Slow down, some things like that. And we'll look into that speed limit sign as well. There was a question about speed limit sign. I heard some other folks talking about some traffic calming measures as well on Kahkwa. So that's something we can, talk to the city about and see if maybe a speed limit sign or another measure may be appropriate there. I guess we can go to, Monica, if we can go to the slide with, we're going to now talk about crane placement and some of the trees. So, the color-coded one with, go down, sorry, right there, number 8, yes, thank you. Okay, so here is our proposed Ravine Drive. You see Crescent Downs below, right? Superior's above. I'm going to have our bridge engineer, Jeff Holmes, take this one.
Yeah, so obviously in an area like this, with all the trees and as confined as we are, space is our issue, right? We don't want to cut down trees, and yet we need to place 120-foot long bridge beams. So, just know that this has actually been our number one concern from a bridge perspective. Designing this bridge isn't all that difficult. Getting the bridge built, that's our difficulty. So what we're thinking right now, and this is all conceptual, because the contractor is actually allowed to put his crane wherever he can within certain parameters. For instance, he can't put it on Ravine Drive because we can't close down Ravine Drive. But what we're thinking right now is that crane's going to go right here. We anticipate bridge beams are going to come in on 79, and they're going to come and make the turn down Lincoln and get on to 8th Street and ultimately turn down Kahkwa. And we anticipate that the crane will be waiting for them right here. We were looking at it out there today again, but we believe that crane is basically going to fill this intersection. And so I would anticipate that for some period of time, probably about a week, is what I'll just put out there right now. And that might be a day more, a day less, either way. But you need to remember what they're going to do is they're going to set up that crane a day or two before the beams are delivered to make sure everything's safe. They're going to do a dry run, make sure everything's ready to go. But I would anticipate there will probably be a crane sitting right here in this intersection for several days. But the beam delivery and placement should all be done in a day. There are only 4 beams on this project, so we don't anticipate that will take them very long. They'll need to truck it in, they'll attach their cables, lift it, place it, get that truck out of there, bring in the next truck. The fabricators actually time those deliveries so that they'll all get delivered a couple hours apart, and that they'll be able to place those in one day. So I hope that answers your question. I guess it would be multiple questions as far as placement of the crane.
So thanks, Jeff. That was. And now I'm going to bring Joe Brasevich up to talk about some of the trees that may be impacted. So that was we talked about traffic lights, signs, crane placement, and this Joe's going to address. And again, Joe Brasevich. Joe's our lead roadway engineer.
Yeah, so as Jeff was mentioning, there is some challenges in terms of needing to move 120-foot beams to get them into place. So as we noted before, the alignment was a lot straighter, and there was going to be a lot more impacts to the western bank. Now that we're moving it closer to the existing alignment, and what we've been working with, this is what we've been working with our geotechnical engineer in recent weeks. On the eastern side of the bridge, obviously you're going to be swinging beams. You're going to have to be building the abutment for the structure, and there's going to be some geotechnical treatments to stabilize the slope on either side immediately of the structure. So there are some potential impacts to the trees on either side of the structure in these two quadrants. And then depending on the final limits of the geotechnical improvements, there could be one tree or possibly two in this quadrant as well. With the slope that was built as part of the structure removal, a lot of the ones that are in the general vicinity of the structure have already been removed. And so there's very low potential on that side for removal of any further trees. Does that answer the question?
Thanks, Joe. Brian, any more?
Let's see. I think. Did you guys have any more? Joe or Jeff? I think we addressed most of these. Go ahead. I forget what the question was.
And a lot of the other discussion I know has been on the duration of the construction season. We showed that 3 to 5 month duration. That's the entire construction project. So the ravine work is going to be earlier on in the project, where they're going to be down there relocating the road, building those geotechnical treatments, and working up towards the abutments for the structure. Once they get that work done, the remainder of that duration is setting the beams, and then it's going to be preparing the deck on the structure, the sidewalks on the structure. So there's going to be a significant portion of that schedule that's then just building the top of the bridge on top of that. So I don't want you guys to think that that entire schedule is necessarily, those traffic signals won't be on ravine the entire construction season. Once that road is reconstructed and reopened, the limiting factor of that the closures that Jeff was talking about was for the beam placements. Once the beams are up there, most of that work's going to be happening up on top. Again, if there's something that they're doing that might need a momentary closure just because of something they're doing has a fall risk, that something could fall down, they might stop traffic again for a few minutes while they do that. But once they have ravine reconstructed, there shouldn't be any need down there to restrict it to the one lane of flow. So just want everyone to realize that it's not a full 3 to 5 months for ravine. It'll be something shorter. So.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. Thanks for bringing that up.
A lot of that is still the geotechnical treatments. We don't know the full extent of those yet. Once we get those finalized with the geotechnical engineer, that'll help determine how long that duration is going to be. So.
Thanks, Joe. We're ready for more questions. Comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Bob Howden. I live on Vermont Avenue. Now that you've made your presentation, I have another question. You're talking about the, removing a few trees and building the bridge and all that kind of stuff. After everything is done, what are you going to do to remediate the area that's been disturbed by the construction?
We're ready for some more. We'll take a few more questions and then we'll respond, and then we'll go forward. Does anyone have any more questions? Comments? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you My comment is I didn't want to see this happen. I was hoping for a pedestrian bike path only. And the big reason is the lack of traffic that we've had the last 3 years. It's been so nice. We now have a neighborhood. Everybody's out walking their dogs, walking their children, enjoying the neighborhood. I hope there's some way to slow that traffic down, since it's obvious I've lost. The bridge is going in, the traffic's coming back. I hope we can find a way to control that traffic and maintain our beautiful neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name's Dominic Bazanco, 3610 Harvard Road. I know I am nowhere near your neighborhood, but do you want to tell these people what they're actually getting into with this bridge? About half a dozen of them commented on the traffic control, okay? Do you want to talk to them about mobilization of this job and demobilization of this job and the amount of construction traffic that's actually going to come into their neighborhood and disturb them? Do you want to tell them about the pile drivers at 7 o'clock in the morning? And are you prepared to answer the phone every day when somebody complains about the noise? Are you prepared to deal with that? Just want to let you know let them know what they're getting into. It's not just a few bridge beams being delivered. It's the whole entire construction process. Just let them know.
Thank you. Let me just say that for every construction, public construction, whether it be a highway or a bridge, the local authorities usually put in place a construction management plan, a transportation management plan, and the city employees represented here tonight will work with us as the consultants, as the engineers, and also the neighborhood to put that kind of plan together. We'll talk about calming traffic down once the bridge is built. There are a variety of traffic calming measures that can be employed here to really slow people down after the bridge is built. I think it's a matter of working in unison with local authorities to make that happen. And I think you folks are the best monitors of the conditions that we're talking about. So I'm sure the mayor's office will hear from you if you don't like something. I'm not trying to direct any more traffic to your office, Mayor, but yeah, so anyway, any more questions? Questions? Comments? Don't forget, we have that comment form on the website, the city's website. If there are some shy people here, then take your time at home and get on that computer and log in your comments.
We're going to answer a few now. We're going to answer a couple more.
Oh, okay. We're going to answer some of the last questions. Comments.
I'm going to have Joe take the remediation question.
Yeah, so in terms of remediation, I think there's a real need for our presentations in the future. We get so lost in the verbiage and abbreviations that we don't always explain them all, and I think I need to put a legend at the beginning so you guys can all remember. But when Brian was talking about some of the upcoming tasks that we're finishing, one of them is the 100% ENS plans, which stands for Erosion and Sedimentation Control. So when any of these projects are being done, there's obviously earth moving, there's going to be disturbances. We're required to put in measures that will prevent that, soil loss in the area. And part of that also is the restoration of the area. As Brian mentioned, some of that rock's going to be needed, but what we're hoping to do is not give a giant wall of rock there. We're going to cover that with topsoil, and then that will be seeded so that that'll help bring back a natural vegetated look in that area. In terms of trying to restore any trees, that would be something we'd have to talk about, with the city getting that added into the plans, but that's something that could also be added into the ENS plans as a planting plan that we could identify the types of trees and where those would be planted. Now, they're obviously not going to restore, a tree that's been there for years to that size immediately, but it's something that could be planted and over time would, return back to that, that shaded look in that area. But, the sad part is construction takes space, swinging those beams takes space. So there is some stuff that has to come out, but there definitely is some methods we can do to, restore the grass, restore some of the trees potentially, and then, get it back to looking like what it does today as, close as possible. Might take some time, but hopefully it'll get there.
And then just to address the question of traffic, again, we'll look at some signs as far as how we can help slow down the traffic on the bridge. And we'll work with, Jason and Leanne as well in the city to see if there are any traffic calming devices that we could implement in or around the project that would help further slow down traffic. So again, it's a detail. We're at 70%. Now we're getting into some of those finer details, and these are all great questions, some things we're going to take a look at as we move forward and complete our design.
Okay. Well, how is everybody feeling so far? Has the meeting been productive for you? Well, that was not an enthusiastic yes. Okay, with all seriousness, this is something we hope that you folks that live near the bridge will appreciate. I know, not everybody is going to be pleased. We understand that. That applies for every project. But the majority of you said you want the bridge, and that's why we're doing this. Any more questions? Comments? Any clap of hands? Well, I want to thank you all for coming. Any questions, again, go to the city website and let us know what you're thinking. Thank you again for coming. Be safe driving home.